government, freedom, law, education, health, free energy, money, debt. Awake Radio, deconstructing the dream world, one lie at a time.
You didn't think it was going to be that easy, did you?
You know, for a second there, yeah, I kind of did.
Welcome to Transition Mission on Awake Radio, simulcasting on Shazizz Radio. Tonight's broadcast is entitled State-Sanctioned Kidnapping. Every day we are hearing more and more stories about losing control over our lives and also the lives of our children. Armed officers, child protection personnel can come into your home and snatch away your children. From there, the nightmare goes from bad to worse. In this broadcast, we interview Nancy. Nancy is a grandmother of 2 young children who were abducted while they were traveling out of state. She has not seen them in over a year. What transpired needs to be heard. We are living in a world that many choose to ignore, and worse, many go along with it, and usually it's because of a paycheck. This is much like what precipitated in Nazi Germany. This is a problem not only going on in the United States, but going along in very many countries all over the world. Names of the individuals involved have been edited out. Nancy's son, by court order, was threatened with jail time if we dared expose the culprits. We feel it is time to start sharing these stories with our neighbours, friends, through Facebook, whatever means possible, and even more important, start banding together and doing something about this. Our history has proven where this will lead to if we allow the state to take over. I'm recording this on November 22nd. It's the 50th anniversary of the assassination of John F. Kennedy. There's a quote that I feel is appropriate that he said, "There are risks and costs to action, but there are far less than the long-range risks of comfortable inaction." As usual, you can find this article and information relating to it on Transition Times Facebook page, and also we have many articles and broadcasts posted on our web page if you go to transitiontimescanada.blogspot.ca. Thank you for listening.
Sky tissue that I wish you saw. Sarcastic Mr. Know-It-All. Close your eyes and I'll kiss you, 'cause with the birds I'll share. With the birds I'll share this lonely view. And with the birds I'll share this lonely view. And push me up against the wall. Young tuck girl in a push-up bra. Falling all over myself to lift your heart and taste your hill. 'Cause with the birds I'll share this lonely view. soft-spoken with a broken jaw. Step outside, but not to brawl. And autumn sweet wind, call it fall. I'll make it to the moon, never have to crawl. And with the birds that share this lonely view. And with the birds that share this lonely view. And with the birds that share this lonely view. Close your eyes and I'll kiss you, 'cause with the birds I share, with the birds I share this lonely view, and with the birds I share this lonely view, and with the birds I share this lonely view.
So he's been supporting this woman and his children, or the children.
Yes, and the children the entire time, and they had a beautiful home. Everything he had went to the family. They had, I know monetary is not everything, but anything he could give these kids, they had the best.
So they were they were well looked after and happy and healthy children.
Oh yes, yes, curious, happy, healthy. He was always with the parks. It was like he lived for the kids. Okay, 6 months later, we get this where they had said the sexual abuse, all this stuff was unfounded. Okay, now also they want to say this happened while she was under pediatric psychiatrist care. My son voluntarily took her. Now they're saying that this happened under her watch. Well, you know what? They refuse to get the report for the pediatric psychiatrist because it doesn't fit the case they want to present. So they refused. When we tried to get the paperwork, we were told by the psychiatrist that DCF already contacted them and told them that they are the guardians and to not give my son a copy. My son also went and he paid for and just voluntarily took the lie detector test, which came out that he was telling the truth in flying colors. He offered to pay DCF. He offered to pay for the same test. She refused, and DCF doesn't want it. Well, we know it's not admissible in court, but it was like trying to at least. It was about the only thing that he could do. So he said, well, if she feels that what she called into them is the truth, why not just take the lie detector test and he'd pay for it? It was like $250. No. Anything that proves his innocence, they refuse. They even write down, like he'll be there on a visit, they'll put down something that, they'll say like he was disruptive or they lie. It's just pure lie. There's someone on YouTube, her name is Nancy Schaefer. She was a senator. Well, she was exposing DCF and CPS.
Yes, we know of Nancy Schaefer. Confirmation.
Yeah.
I have no doubt everything you're saying is, it fits exactly the bill of what's going on.
Right. I got into that pretty heavy after this fiasco. So I've been asking for the grandkids. I said, okay, if you feel like there's something to be investigated, let Florida investigate it. Let me have my grandchildren. I've got 3 jobs. I own 3 companies. The kids have no reason at all to be on welfare. Every sort of welfare you can imagine. They told me, we don't like Florida DCS.
How about
I guess they did.
Florida DCS can't get involved in this at all? Like this?
No, they said they're not allowed to. Florida DCF believes that they are corrupt, and I'm a friend through this, I'm now friends with a DCF attorney here in Florida. She says what they're doing is wrong, they're corrupt. So instead of, I don't know how I can imagine, $25,000 or more taxpayer money, just my family alone. So I can only imagine how much they're raking in.
My God,
I figured it out. Excuse me?
They're selling children.
They are totally selling children. On YouTube, you can see, too, they have people with hidden cameras sitting in on their secret meetings. And in there, they're just telling you about people placing order for kids. The last time my son went to court, the judge gave him a gag order, doesn't want him to name names, doesn't want him to post any pictures of his children. Well, that's all so that when the kids, if they get adopted, they won't be found. They want to hide for some reason.
Well, they've got to hide, that's for sure. They're one of the worst type of criminals you can imagine.
They really, really are. Let's say they won't even let me sit in on court. They sit in on court.
So you have to travel?
If I could just, I'm sorry, what?
Oh, I'm sorry. So your son and you have to travel to.
My son's got to go there. He goes every month and stays a couple of days. In the beginning, he hired an attorney, and then as soon as he showed up with an attorney, they said, "Oh, court is canceled. The children's attorney is sick," because they didn't like it that he had a real attorney. They wanted to use the court-appointed because they work for DCF, and that's who pays them. Eventually, he ran out of money, and now he's using court-appointed. But they won't let me sit in court. It's fact. She was in court. She said so. My son was there. Tried to sign custody over to me and spoke to them, telling them she wants me to have custody. My son told them the same. I filled out paperwork. I've been asking for custody for a year. It's welfare fraud. There's no reason for those kids to be on welfare, and there's no reason for the prank caller and her boyfriend to be collecting $1,400 a month for housing my grandchildren, poisoning their minds.
Have you been able to be in touch with your grandchildren?
They did finally last month. They told me 2 days ahead of time that I can come and visit the kids, but that I'd also be cutting into my son's visitation. And he lives for the visitation, that's what he lives for, and it would have cut his short. And they let me know 2 days ahead of time, which I got 3 companies. I couldn't just leave him and me be gone. We could only find tickets for 3 days. It was some holiday weekend or was something. We have to go and stay 3 days, and at that time I just couldn't do it. The kids, the little girl, she acts so strange, like she's afraid of them. My son goes to visit because they sit right there, right in his face, to make sure that he doesn't try to talk to the kids about any, letting them know what DCF is saying. His attorney did have another counselor that doesn't work for DCF take a look at the counseling, the paperwork, and in there, my granddaughter is saying she's afraid. They're hungry. No one tells them they love them. Nobody's paying any attention. And then she asked, "Would I tell you?" And the woman said, "Yes, she is." So it's like common sense, obvious, like anybody with, any kind of intelligence at all would know. There's no reason for the little girl to ask, is she going to know what I'm saying? So they could be at my house. I don't need to be paid. and they don't need welfare. There's no reason except that the state of Massachusetts wants that money.
Have you met any other people in Massachusetts that are dealing with this?
I haven't met them myself. I hear of them. It's called mass outrage. There's hundreds of sites, hundreds, and thousands of people that are living through the exact same thing. And see, if they feel like the kids aren't easily placed, they might get them kids back. Some people get half their kids back and not the other. Oh, my grandson, he's just thrown into this mix for nothing. There's no reason at all. He's just thrown into it, I guess, for another check. Because he wasn't even listed, there's no problem, nothing. And I say, well, I want my grandson then. Oh, he's been here this long. We don't want to make any changes because we've already had him this long. Well, because you did something wrong to start with, doesn't mean you just keep it going. If I rob banks, that doesn't mean I'm just going to keep robbing banks and it's okay because I've already been doing it. It doesn't even make sense for answers. I'm trying to right a wrong, and if I can get one of them out of there, I want them out of there. That you talk to, I even wrote to the Inspector General? I've got that. It's called Rip-Off Report. I posted it, the letter that I got back from the Inspector General.
Yeah.
And what she pretty much says is, I can't help you. Not one person helps. Not one person. No government, nothing. I believe they're all in on it. They've all got to have something to gain because something this obvious can't be going on and then not even want to look into it. We're talking about the deficit. So you're throwing all these people on welfare. Just the money part alone, you'd think at least they'd look into something. They don't.
Well, because that's where they're making their money. You see?
Yeah.
They don't care.
Yes.
This is taxpayers' money that's going out.
No.
They're not paying for it. They're collecting a paycheck. That's it. They're collecting a paycheck and worse. Exactly.
Yeah. It's nothing but a business. I wrote up something short, if I could read that to you.
Yeah, go right ahead, please.
Unfortunately, DCF and CPS, child trafficking in America, has become a lucrative business that is directly linked with highly organized criminal activity. States and counties earn more revenues by having more children in the system, whether it is opening a case to investigate a report of child abuse and neglect or placing a child in foster care. Children who are stolen by the state are sold either into slavery, they're taken by DCF or CPS, then sold to adoptive parents by receiving money from our tax dollars for that sale. Many of these children are abused in their new, I got in parentheses, better home. And many are murdered. The states make money. Children die. The adoptive parents make a killing. The loser is the children and the natural parent. Every tax-paying citizen being forced to pay for their scam. You can expect this amount to keep increasing because some people obviously will do anything for money. It seems the recession has made it even worse. Each child in your family has a 1 in 25 chance of being the subject of a child abuse neglect investigation this year. The chance of getting a flat tire on a family car is 1 in 70, including Firestones.
Wow.
Child protection is one of the biggest businesses in the country. We spend $12 billion a year on it. The money goes to tens of thousands of state employees, collateral professionals such as lawyers, court personnel, court investigators, evaluators, guardians, judges, DCF, CPS, contracted vendors such as counselors, therapists, more evaluators, junk psychologists, residential facilities, foster parents, adoptive parents. It just goes on and on. Well, there's no limit to what this country will now do for money. Don't bother wasting your time worrying about your taxes going up with this kind of scam being condoned and covered up by our government. And I've written, there's no one left in government. No one left, even the FBI. And you get no answer. The same Nancy Schaefer said the exact same thing. They told her, I'd like to help, but I can't because I'll be fired.
Where is people's morality?
It seems to be gone. I can't imagine. Once in a while you get somebody that I guess decides they want to sleep at night and they'll whistle blow, but...
We know what happened to Nancy Schaefer, too, eh?
Right. Yeah, she's... Would they call that a murder-suicide? I doubt very much that it was a murder-suicide.
No, it made no sense at all. And it happened right when she was making some progress, too. People were starting to... she was getting the story out. I know she was on... I don't know if you know Alex Jones. He's one of the probably biggest alternative media hosts in the U.S. that's woken up a lot of people. Yeah. She was on that show a number of times, and then all of a sudden... this happened.
Senator, tell us about your journey, and then more of the horrors.
Well, it has been horrible. It really has, and let me just say up front here now that my writing the corrupt business of Child Protective Services, which you probably have read at some point or another, that prompted me, of course, to give the speech at Eagle Forum for the conference last year, at the end of the year. I lost my Senate seat over this, and in working, and let me say that there are causes worth losing over, so it hasn't distressed me that much. It's just given me more time to work on this issue and other issues. But in calling around the country to other state representatives and senators, asking them would they help this family or that family that have been contacting me, they have told me that if they help, if they do anything, they will lose their job. Isn't that interesting?
Oh, it's a mafia.
And, of course, it cost me my Senate seat. But that's okay. That's okay. We're moving forward. We're exposing what is being done. And you mentioned a few minutes ago about the judges and the money. I wanted to share with you that the Census Bureau has reported that in 2002, $40 billion in transfer payments were made between households. That money is under the direction and the control of family court judges.
And that's only the tip of the iceberg. Of course,
that's right.
You break this down so well, but there's bounties on children's heads.
Yes, there are. As a matter of fact, we just learned a few days ago that an order had even been placed to one of our Child Protective Services departments for a particular kind of child that they wanted. So there is a bounty on these children. As a matter of fact, when you break it down as to exactly what is happening to promote these financial incentives, you have to go back to the Adoption and the Safe Families Act that was set in motion in 1974 by Walter Mondale, and then later was expanded upon by President Bill Clinton in 1997. And what this act did is it offered cash bonuses to the states for every child they adopted out of foster care. So in order to receive the adoption incentive bonuses, local Child Protective Services need more children. They must have merchandise, which is the children, that sells. And you must have plenty so that the buyer can choose. Some counties are known to give $4,000 to $6,000 bonus for each child adopted out to strangers, and an additional $2,000 for special needs children. And of course, this money just continues to follow the child for years and years and years. And the employees work to keep those federal dollars flowing.
And that's why 67% of children nationally, and that happens to be the average in Texas as well, we have the state hearings on this, are on multiple psychotropic drugs because once they give them a designation, then the cash amount goes way up.
That's right. You're exactly right. You're exactly right. The beginning of this journey for me began with a grandmother who was trying to get her two granddaughters in one of the counties in my district. The Child Protective Services had removed the two little girls from their mother, who was very young. And they based it on the fact that there was an unopened can of beer in the front of her car. They took these two little girls over to an adjoining county, put them in foster home over there where they had 18 children, all kinds of little rooms downstairs in the lower level of this home. And one of the caseworkers in that county was a pedophile.
Of course.
Who lived in that home and regularly sexually molested the children who were in the foster care.
Ugh.
When this came up in court, I went to court with this grandmother and sat in the back of the courtroom. And we had a good attorney that day who pulled the walls down, who cross-examined one of the older children in this foster home, and she admitted that there was an inappropriate relationship between the foster mother and the caseworker. And then it got a little worse, and then the juvenile court judge got all nervous and said, "Counsel, meet me in my chambers," and they went out and stayed 5 minutes and came back, and our attorney just looked at us and out loud said, "It's nothing but legal kidnapping. That's all it is, legal kidnapping." But let me tell you what happened.
Did they get the child back? We
pressed, it's called DFAX in Georgia, and we pressed and pressed and pressed. The judge said those children will be removed within a week. Well, a week was gone, 10 days was gone, the children were still there. We kept leaning on them to get those children out of there. And out of the blue, someone called this grandmother in Florida to tell her that they were bringing the children from Georgia to the state line. Would she drive up to pick them up? She, of course, said she would be there. She got the children. They didn't have any clothes. One was not wearing shoes. Mm-hmm. She took them home, and within 3 days, that juvenile court judge drew up a new order, and she gave the two little girls to their father, who lived on the West Coast, who had never been involved in their lives, and who was involved in adult entertainment. I pulled his business up on the Internet. Pornographic. Awful.
That's why they gave it to him. And in fact, you come to the next point, Senator.
Within 3 days, that father was knocking on the door of that grandmother and took those two little girls screaming and crying to the West Coast.
Well, it's better than that in that death pit down there in that house with all those little kids. Now,
right.
Now, for those that don't know, I found out about this because I walked into these pits, and I probably only saw that summer 7 or 8 of them, but I mean they were all the same.
That's horrible.
And literally they're hell pits. And I'm Senator. You notice everything I've told you. You've seen the same thing because we've had the same similar experience, fighting this. And I just do it a little bit of the time. Frankly, I psychologically shy away from it because it's so. Well, it just makes me feel.
It does take its toll on you.
It makes me feel very aggressive. It makes me want to. But the point is that when it comes right down to it, how many Homeland Security deputy directors of states have been caught with little kids? How many senators and congressmen, with the pages, and how many DHS officials, that want to stop child abuse, it turns out, are pedophiles? When you get down to it, you got a couple groups. You got parents that were, you've got children who were abused, who think that all parents are abusive and they're gonna punish the family. Because I went to college with some people that were going to be social workers, and you'd be out drinking beer, and the girl would say, I just can't wait to take kids from these bad parents because I was abused. So there's those mentally ill people. Then there's pedophiles who want access to kids, and then there's scumbags that just want money. And I got to say, that's basically what makes up CPS in my experience. And I think, from what I've seen, I'd probably say 30% of them are pedophiles. And and the problem is this crime rate. This crime spree is growing.
Yes, it is.
So can you comment on that? And where is this going? How do we stop them?
Well, I would say that there are definitely pedophiles in the system. There's no question about that, because we know where there's children, there are pedophiles. They're in schools and they're in churches and they're everywhere where they can get their hands on children. So we know that that's true. And it's got to be brought to an end. It's got to be completely exposed for what it is. And in my opinion, it needs to completely be dissolved. I don't see any good left in Child Protective Services. As far as picking up a child that's being totally abused, the police could do that just as well as Child Protective Services.
And then you have due process. And exactly. We'll take Take Texas. Did you hear about the Texas Youth Commission?
I don't know.
I mean, there's so many crimes. I'm not knocking you if you haven't.
You're not talking about all those children in Texas that were picked up at one time.
No, that was with that Mormon sect.
Right.
Did you hear about how the child jails and the child facilities had organized pornographic rings and big rape parties for the children, and the state police found out about it and then weren't allowed to stop it, and now they forced the director out because he did the right thing?
I have heard about that in other states, but I have not heard about what happened in Texas, no.
Okay, well, here in Texas, it came out that every major facility was doing stuff that people wouldn't even believe. You can read it in the mainstream news. Now, they used that to pass a law for more money for the agencies. I'm sure you heard about Florida, where it turned out the directors were pedophiles and 3,000 kids were missing and all that. What did they get? More money, more power. The incredible thing is, the worse they get, the more money and power they get.
It appears that way. It appears that way. But all of it is based on money, and that's where it's going to have to be cut off. The federal incentives have got to be cut off and be removed on a federal level in order to get this stopped.
And that's where we go now in the closing minutes we have left in this interview, Senator. And again, we can only commend you and pray for you in this fight and then politically going after you. Solutions. But before we hit that, I wanted to finish up. Specific orders for specific children that look a specific way. I mean, you've now saying you've discovered that.
Right. We have discovered that. We haven't discovered it in every state, but we've discovered it in many states, and we have so many families calling that are absolutely delirious. They are so desperate. They do not know where to turn, and actually, they have no place to turn for help. And, of course, parents, the poorer the families are, those are the ones who are targeted because they don't have the wherewithal to fight the system or hire an attorney. And they are just caught up in it, and many of them are because their children are blue-eyed or blonde or exactly what someone wants, and those families are targeted. So it is just heartbreaking as to what is going on and what we've got to do in order to bring this to an end.
Have you ever heard about what the former head FBI agent in Southern California discovered about the CPS, even in the 80s? They had public auctions, closed auctions in Las Vegas with the kids on the block. These people.
Well, man. We have some states now that put the children on the internet, and you can just go through their pictures and choose the one you want.
See how pure evil's just right out in the open now, like it's no big deal.
And then there are some children that even if you might like to, if a really good person who is really trying to help a child will choose that child, oftentimes then they refuse to let these parents have the child. So if your motives are pure as the driven snow, and you're trying to really help get a child out of that system and give them a new life, oftentimes they won't let the child go.
No, they want client houses where they warehouse the kids, a lot of times locked up, and they've ruled, they can legally lock them up and stuff in these little cages. They only want client foster parents that want to run the money in and put them on drugs because that's shared with the local CPS.
Right. It's just... It is one of the most corrupt situations that we could ever have in this country. And
well, what we need is to take the country back, have mass trials, and hang about 10,000 of these people high, because this rivals the Nazis. By the way, the Nazis had CPS. That's how they started grabbing people's kids. The year Hitler was elected in 1933, he was a eugenicist. We'll be right back with the Senator. Stay with us. Final segment.
Mhm. So it's illegal, unconstitutional. It's everything grimy. It's as grimy as you get.
And so, what do what do people that you know think of this? Like other Americans,
They're so disgusted. First of all, they don't believe it.
that's the hard part. It's the hard part is to believe it.
Right, because even myself, if you had said this to me, 5 years ago, I would have thought, what? That's too far out there. That's, I could believe a little corruption, but this is. So what it boils down to is a business, and their slogan is it's for the children. And, it's amazing what people can get away with that marketing strategy for the children.
Oh, yeah. It's a brainwash, too.
It's amazing what
and it's laws
they
that are
can get
put
away
in.
with.
Laws that are put in, too, that go along with this. So we have the same I know in Canada we have this problem, too. It's a worldwide problem. It's not only in the United States. I have a feeling there's certain states and certain provinces that are worse than others.
Worse.
But
yeah, there are like Massachusetts and Connecticut here are known for some reason. Kentucky's starting to crack down some, and you're seeing it a little bit on the news. Not sure why. And they've also lately, I've heard of some counselors getting put in jail for making up false sexual abuse. I guess that's the thing. Like, if they can't find nothing else, they add that sexual abuse, because that's something really hard to prove or disprove. Although they refuse, well, I'm sure they've already checked out my granddaughter, but they're saying, no, that we're not going to do that because that's too invasive. Well, we know they've already done it and just didn't come up with anything, because what they're doing is an invasive, tongue-tied, invasive as you can get what they've already done. So I don't see why they have any problem at all doing that.
huh. How's your son holding up?
He's a wreck. He's, one of those people that live for their kids. He's like lost. He's lost. He lost his job. He ended up, he's staying in a place, with my daughter. They're, both renting a place together. He just doesn't know what to do. He's in shock. It's like he never came out of shock. But boy, every single time, court comes up, he runs to Massachusetts just to go see those kids.
They're breaking up the families. It's a plan to break up the family. This is such a large-scale plan. It's.
Oh, yeah.
If you look back to history, and if we look back to what happened in Germany, and to the Nazis, there's all kinds of other scenarios where you can see the same thing going on. But what is happening is you have a takeover of America. We have it here in Canada.
Yes. I'm starting to find out that it is as bad in other countries by other people writing to me saying, it's going on here too.
Oh, it's happening big time in England. Big time.
So this is their way of making money now. They're selling people, yet they're on TV talking about this child trafficking in these other countries. Exactly what they're doing.
I know here with our First Nations people, it is rampant. It's like there's more children that are going into foster care than that are staying with their parents. It's a huge, rampant problem.
And that's where they, like 1 in 7 need some intervention. The other 6 are just casualties.
Yeah.
And that bumps their paycheck.
No, and most people, you know what they need? They need help.
What?
When people have problems like this, they need help. The last thing they need is to be taken away from a loving family unit.
Right. And for them to, this was a prank phone call. Just a prank, not one sentence was true. I mean, it was ridiculous things. Easily checked. Oh, they're running from New York, from DCF, all the craziest things. If one thing would have been checked, they would have seen that's not true. Then they would have tried to check another one. That's not true. It was obvious, easy check. Nothing was checked.
Do you have like proof Any kind of documentation or anything
Oh,
that?
yeah, I have a lot of documentation,
Okay.
yes.
Because you know what we can do? We're going to do. We're going to include it with this interview. What you know what you have.
Right.
If
Oh, I've got a lot.
yeah.
I can even show you where person is right. I've saved it. She wrote me on Facebook telling me, oh, you let your son be sexually abused all his life. Like, I'm thinking, this lady's crazy. I'm a total, complete stranger to her.
I mean, the whole
She's mentally
scenario.
unstable. It's got to be.
I mean, how you can? It's just obvious from the scenario. A person that has never met your grandchildren before, just a couple of days after meeting them, calls up.
Right.
It's almost like it was set up to begin with.
You know, the kid's mother was seeing a counselor, and that's exactly what the counselor said, that she believes, okay, you know how some people just are real good at knowing how to get all this free stuff? You know, some people are just like, wow, you can't believe it. They know how to get every
Yes.
some giveaway that there is. Well, she's one of them. And the counselor told Rita that they believe that this was all set up beforehand, that she had this all planned already before she even got it there.
That sounds exactly
And
like that. How's the mother? How's Rita doing?
She's pretty much, first she tried real hard to do everything they said, but it was almost too much for anybody to do and to be able to support herself and live. And it seems like now she just pretty much gave up.
Yeah, well, this would traumatize. This is.
She got
This is when I heard your story. I have a friend that I met years ago that introduced, and I saw what she went through, and it's a very similar situation to your son's. And her kids were going up for adoption, and the judge wasn't letting them see her, and she had faced one traumatic experience after another. And what happens?
Right.
You end up going on drugs, right? You have to escape this scenario.
That's the kind of thing, yes. I think they want to actually drive a person crazy, because then, oh, no.
So you were right.
Now we really do have something to say. We drove him crazy. I think that's their point, because the way they bait my son, and you can see they're trying to get him to say something or do something. He's not going for it, but I'll tell you, after this happened, he got a DUI. Now, he went 37 years, and he drove for a living. And after they took the kids, he did get a DUI. And then you realize, look, you know what? They want you. They want you to do anything wrong because they can hold it against you. He, doesn't drink or anything. Now, and he never did take drugs, but, they even had on the paper, they wanted him to go into a drug rehab live-in facility for 6 months. This guy never took a drug in his life. He's always been anti-drug. So for him to go sit in some 6 months, I'm sure they would have had a lot of time to brainwash, and that would have been a good way to separate, because I'm sure they don't like it that he keeps coming and visiting, because he is trying to keep that connection. I guess that would have got rid of him for 6 months. But
that's what they did with this woman I was talking about. They put her
is all without even interviewing him. Nothing.
Mm-hmm. And the police just come to the door. They can come to the door and they don't ask questions. They just follow orders.
That's what they did. Took the kids right out of bed. They had tickets for the very next morning. Just hours later, they would have been on their way to Florida. And one prank call, and they decided, hey, we're not going to let this cash leave this state. And they haven't. It's been an entire year.
So what's your next steps from here?
I'm still trying to get the kids. I'm going to go up and visit. They have me so blocked off that whatever I write to them, they don't respond. I did have one of the social workers, his name was Hapte Ketema. He actually would speak to me now and then on the phone. But they got him since off the case, and they told Kimberly DeRico, she's the, supervisor, social worker, she says that she won't answer me or speak to me. because I'm not involved in the case, they want to make it seem as though grandparents mean nothing. They're no one.
And these courts are secret courts too, eh? These courts?
Oh, they're secret. Oh, they don't let anybody else listen.
That's one of the biggest complaints I hear of the whole system, because that's how it's allowed to keep on going on.
Right.
As soon
and
as
everything corrupt is done in the dark.
Exactly.
And that's the way they want it. Like they gave my son the gag order. Don't name names. Why not? If you're not doing anything wrong, why?
And I know here in Canada, lawyers that they're not allowed to speak out against the system, or they'll lose their license. And the same too with the hospitals. You know, the psychiatric, the drug and alcohol. There's a hospital here in Canada, CAMH, and I know I was speaking to some of the staff there, and they are not allowed to speak out. And there's so many things they want to speak out about what's going on in these hospitals too.
Wow. Okay, so I don't. There's really no reason to worry about terrorists, because I mean, America, Canada, it sounds like England or the UK, they're all doing a good enough job of destroying their countries on their own. I really don't see what is left for terrorists to do.
No, you know who the terrorists are, eh?
They're
running the governments.
Yeah, I know it. I actually used to kind of believe in the system and things. I kind of, I always knew there's always a bad apple, but now the more I dig, I can't find one good apple.
Yeah, that's what happened. That's what happens when you start digging for the truth. You find it out, and it's very, very. There's very few people that can speak out against it, and that's the most important thing, I think, is finding enough people to start banding together and speaking out against these injustices. I see your son started a group. Sorry.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I see your son started a group.
Yes, save my children. What we're trying to do, though, is instead of these, states all having separate, for their state, like there's corrupt Connecticut, and I'm seeing some for the UK, and I'm thinking, wouldn't it be better if everybody really band together and become one large group? Because it seems like they're, divide and conquer.
I think you're exactly right on.
Yeah, I feel like picketing, there should be a lot more picketing. I know, there's that group Anonymous. They were just in Boston and Washington. I've been starting to pay attention to a lot of their things too. They actually talk about this stealing of children and selling them by the DCF and CPS. They talk about it. They're going to be in Boston, and it's concerning Department of Children and Families. They're doing another march there at the end of the month. They had such a huge crowd. Well, guess what? Not one news station would put it on here. Not one. Because they knew that if the people that didn't know about it did know about it from the news, there'd be a lot more people. So they refuse to air that.
One of the other biggest problems we have is we have a corrupt mainstream media that is owned and operated by 5 very corrupt corporations.
Yes. Here too. Same thing. Sounds like we've already got that New World Order going. We just don't know it.
Oh, it's ramping up every day too, but people too. I want to sound hopeful about this because there's so many people that are waking up, and there's so many. It's going to come. It is coming out in the open. That's what we're seeing right now.
We've got to have some kind of revolution. It's got to. We've got to do it because they're just steamrolling everybody. They want everybody separated and quiet. Everybody's got a band, and if there was like every month, so you pick the same day or the second week of every month, something like that, and everybody went and picketed, and this thing got, even if it got Canada, UK, whoever can get in, well, I don't really see how they can ignore it if there's that many people. It's got to be something really, really bold now. As far as I'm concerned, they already took everything that meant something to me. You know how it is. People hurt your kids, right? It pretty much takes away almost everything that there is. Those are hurting my son and they're hurting my grandkids. I really don't have much to lose.
This is the biggest attack they have to do. They have to break up the family unit, because you know what happens when you're a family unit? You have strength. So they're doing everything. That's why the financial problems, the problem with CPS, the sending people off to war. There's so many different avenues that they use. The court systems.
Breaking up in every way you can.
Sending people, how about the prisons for profit? Do you know what that does? Oh my
God, I've been seeing that lately too. And you know what? This whole thing, they need to dismantle all of this and start over. If anything had the failure rate, like just the 1 in 7 kids, the other 6 are just for profit. If anything had the failure rate that the DCF or CPS has, they'd get rid of it. Taxpayer money is paying for it. It doesn't work. It's broken.
It's more than broken. It's so corrupt.
But it works for them. It works for them, doesn't it?
Hello, I'm Sally Borghese, a grandmother from Grand Rapids, Michigan that lost a precious granddaughter to adoption through Child Protective System. Like most people, I did not wake up to the corruption in our courts until it reared its ugly self by jumping into my life. The lady's picture you see is Georgia Senator Nancy Schaefer, who had become a hope for families dealing with Child Protective Service and family courts across the nation. Nancy was taken from her advocating for families one night in March when she and her husband were murdered while they slept. The beautiful faces are the precious children who have died at the hands of CPS, the very people whose job it was to protect them. In the United States, at any given time, there are 500,000 children caught in CPS. Statistics by the National Center on Child Abuse and Neglect in Washington, D.C. show that more children die while in state care versus parental care. CPS is one of the most evil and corrupt branches of government in America. The social workers on CPS cases use false allegations to remove children from parental care and present these allegations in family court. In family court, juries are not used, due process is seldom provided, and hearsay is permitted. Parents are guilty until proven innocent. Yet parents are not allowed to speak in their own defense. Most end up handling their cases pro se, as they cannot afford an attorney. Family court is a court where corruption and bias abound, where cases are decided before anything begins in the courtroom, where judges give favor to attorneys and social workers of their choice. Judges will in most cases just terminate parental rights. This is done for the federal funding that the states obtain with the removal of each child. The funding comes from your Social Security Title IV. What this means is that we are really paying into Social Security to provide the revenue for the states to remove our own children from us. This funding also increases the retirement funds of our judges. Child Protective Service is a business costing taxpayers billions each year. It is a child abuse system that legally kidnaps and traffics in children for profit by those in authority, and it must stop. Children removed from families disappear into this system and sometimes are lost in the system and can no longer be found. They are put into homes that in many cases are worse than the homes they came from, or sold for sex trafficking. However, many children are removed because they are highly adoptable and bring bonuses from the federal funding. The states must meet quotas of children adopted each year in order to qualify for federal funding. It is a wonder how a child can be removed from parental care without the parent being criminally charged. Statistics prove that a bad parent is better than a foster parent. If a parent lacks the ability to parent, then let's teach that parent to parent better for the sake of the child. Unless, of course, there is parental abuse to that child, and that should become a criminal matter and the child removed. Biological bonding is totally ignored in family court. However, in most cases, children will return to their birth families upon becoming of age. Until we rise up and demand change in our judicial system, there will be no change. Family is the very foundation of this nation, and if our courts are allowed to continue tearing families apart, then our society is lost. Thank you for listening, and may God bless our children.
It's like the bailout we had over here. You know, and then you find out they're buying $80,000 votes, putting it in their office, and, you know, all this stuff. And you know what that is. That's probably the people that, all presidents, I think, the big businesses put them in office, and they've got to repay the favors, you know.
Yeah, and they all have skeletons to hide in their closet. I think the last one was Kennedy, and what did they do? They assassinate the ones that dared.
They sure did.
Yeah.
The ones that are actually good-hearted, mean well, they assassinate them. Well, Nancy Schaefer.
Exactly. And yeah, she was involved in politics too, right?
She was a senator.
Yeah.
And she talks about it, that she'd call everybody she knew, you know, in politics, call every avenue she could find, and they said, oh, yeah, we know, and we'd like to help you, but we can't. And I've written to, there is no agency left to write to. I think it's just down to the people.
Yes, you know what, you're just exhausting your energy, I think, by even trying to deal with these people. These people.
It is.
Yeah, that's another thing that they use. They'll have you so busy trying to fight the system. There's no longer fighting the system. What we need to do is to get enough people to throw out the system. We have to ignore the system. Just ignore it. Right. If people didn't go along with the system, then the system would not. Exactly.
You know, there's that saying, I don't know it exactly, but I know the meaning of it was when the government fears the people, you have democracy. When the people fear the government, you have chaos. We're slaves. We just don't know it.
Yeah.
So you get pulled in. And anybody that thinks it can't happen to them, they are so wrong, because if it happened in my family, it can happen to anybody's family. Because I joke, Mr. Mom.
It happened to me, eh? That's why we're here in Nova Scotia. I was living in Toronto, and all of a sudden, I had been to go off psychiatric drugs. I went into this hospital. This is where I met this woman. And when I went to leave the hospital, because I could see what was going on in the hospital, it was just, I was kind of ignorant. Yeah, very, very. I was kind of researching, too, at the same time. I had no idea what I was researching, I'll tell you. But when I tried to leave, they locked the doors on me, and they put me on this form. Then they made me sign another form in order to leave, to say that I wasn't capable of handling my finances. At the time, I had owned all kinds of income properties. I had money in the bank, a perfect credit rating. I was scared. I signed the form. I go on, thinking this is it. Al and I, we buy an income property. And the next thing you know, 1 year later, a knock on a door, there's a private investigator, tells me I'm on a public guardianship and that they're looking after my finances. So, I'm just
liquidate you.
Yeah. Well, what happened? So I'm trying to find a lawyer. I'm with you, somebody trying to help. There's nobody to help. One day I'm out of the house. All of a sudden, a squad car comes with 4 police officers, a guy with a taser, and thank God we knew something of the system at the time, and I wasn't home, because that's what we said. Okay, we know that they can take you and they can do whatever they want with you. You don't have one single right when they pick you up.
They'll all stick up for each other too. It's just your word against theirs.
Exactly.
Right?
So we left the province, and in a way, I know how you don't like to have the province, the states not being on the same thing. But the only thing that saved us was that they can't touch me here. They have no right to touch me here. But they did steal everything we owned, everything.
Oh.
So after that kind of situation, you go, Yeah, no New World Order, and you start looking, and never mind that, the people I met that were in the hospital too, and the things they were going through. There was one story after another story, and then through the court systems. So you just start connecting the dots, and you do some research. And if people do not believe there's a New World Order, well, they're going to be coming for a very, very rude awakening, because it's going to happen to them if we do not all get together and start doing something about this.
Exactly. Anybody hiding their head in the sand is going to be smothered.
Mm-hmm.
Because the only thing to do is talk about it and band together. We've got to.
Yeah.
It's like way back when, before the Constitution and all these things, which means nothing now.
No, they had to get rid of that.
Got done.
No. And that's why this is part of what our mission is here on Transition Mission, is that we're giving a platform.
God for you.
Yeah, we need to have people out. We have to get out in the open there and keep on sending it out and getting people involved and understanding it. Like, this people is so serious. If we do not fight this, I wouldn't want to be here in the next generation.
No, you know what? I've said that so many times since this has happened, that, and I'm not going to wear down. I'm just going to keep coming at them. I'm not going to wear down.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Anyway, yeah, I won't. I have said this so many times in the past year. It's one thing, if I had known what I know, I wouldn't have brought any kids into this world. And anybody that's doing it now, oh my God, they are not doing those kids any favors. Any favors. It's really sad to say that.
Yeah, because that's, what they want us, that I think the most important thing is they're not going to win this. There's no way they can win this. Because there's so many people out there now that are catching on. Now it's a matter of us, I think, organizing and doing something about it.
And getting loud.
Very loud. Yeah, and saying no.
And, America, too, it makes you, it's stomach turning. They'll have on TV, these other countries, and we're going to get rid of their president. They want to boss the rest of the world around because, America's the one that does it right. We all know that we really don't get told much of anything. And what we get told, I watch another country's news to get our news.
Yes.
Because, that's all rigged.
Yeah.
Poor people on those stations. America wants to point fingers like, these savage other countries. No, America's savage. You don't get me. They just hide it better.
Yeah, well, they're not hiding it anymore because the whole world knows. The only people that don't know are people that have been so brainwashed by the television in the U.S. They're so, I think, they're either working for the system or they have Stockholm Syndrome. It is so horrific. What 9/11 was an inside job. There's no doubt about it. To not believe
obvious.
That. Yeah.
Anybody that doesn't believe that right now, you might as well leave them behind, because if they don't see that by now, I understand. I think there's some people though that they just want to have a happy life and they just don't want to look. And if they don't look, it doesn't exist. But it'll get them. It'll get them. They're going to have to look because it's too high. 1 in 25 children is going to be taken. That's a lot of kids.
1 in 25. It's.
Yeah. I have so much paperwork that I could send you where it's the Inspector General, their job duties, when they told me that it's not their job to do this. Well, everything I wrote them is exactly their job description. So they didn't write back. I haven't heard back from them, but everybody else, I get the form letter.
Yeah, the other thing, too, is they understaff these departments so much, and the best excuse is, we're in a recession, we have to save money for the taxpayers. So they're going to be so most people don't even know what's going on. All they are is a bunch of paper pushers. Everybody's compartmentalized. One hand don't know what the other one's doing, and they all follow orders. And they've been taught that you have to follow. Your government is the best. You have to whoever.
Yeah, every country says they're the best. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But people have got, they have to have it's an awakening of the conscience too. If you can't awaken to this,
Definitely.
there's the life beyond this life here, and I feel sorry for you.
I wonder about that. I wonder those people that go to bed at night knowing they've done these things to other people, like your story. How do they sleep?
That's what I
Well, they do say the devil rules the earth, and that seems to really fit.
Yeah, there's a lot of prophecies out there that were telling us about this time that we're living through right now. So we put them all together, and that is who is ruling, and they're ruling it through governments. And at one time they ruled it through monarchies, and it's been going on for centuries and centuries and centuries. But now, finally, through the internet, through this that we can finally now, I can talk to you. I would have never met you, and what would be the chances that I would have heard your story if it wasn't for this?
I'm so sorry for what they've done to you. Oh my God.
We're okay. You know what? That's the other thing I want to tell people. Guess what? When you fight them, when you learn how to fight, you know what we said? We're not wasting our time. I tried at the beginning, to get a lawyer or whatever. And it was like, no, what we have to do is we have to fight this system in the best way we know how. And that's by building a website, having this radio show now, and everything's following. You know what? Also, synchronicity happens. You'll find people, you'll meet people, and it's going to happen in time. It's been a longer journey than it's been over 5 years now, but and everything's been okay. We've been okay. We've it's one thing to lose your home and your money and whatever, but to lose your freedom, that's the only thing that we cared about, and we were able to stay together. I feel so sorry for people like you that have been split up from their most precious loved ones. And we've been doing stories, too, on what they're doing with immigration system. It makes you want to cry.
Yeah,
and it's always
another scam, huh?
Yeah, oh, my God. And they're breaking up families.
Putting them in jail.
Yeah, throwing them in jail for nothing. Yeah.
I thought America was the melting pot. We welcome everyone here.
Well, this is in Canada. This is happening. So we're known as to be They tell the people think they come over here thinking we have the best human rights in the world, and then they throw them in jail.
That's what I heard.
Yeah.
I heard France is actually the best. I heard Canada's really good, but it's not, huh?
No. Well, you know what? It's gotten worse, progressively worse. It was never this bad, but since I would say the 70s, it's been steady, getting worse and worse. And France is, they got their problems, but I find the worst countries are England, Canada, United States, Australia.
All right here together.
Yeah, all the Commonwealth, too.
But then they want to go point at everybody else.
Yeah, oh well, look at the Iran.
Leaders.
Yeah. Today.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, Iran's not allowed nuclear energy, but meanwhile, Iran hasn't.
They have it, but we can.
Exactly, and Iran was taken over by a coup by the United States. They won. They finally got rid of them, and now that's why they're on the bad list. And they don't have a Rothschild-owned central bank, so they're trying to demonize any country the U.S. demonizes. Do some research.
Right.
Won't take you long. Guess what? It's a good country.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'm sure every country has this
when
problem.
They all gang up.
Yeah.
The way they do.
Yeah, walking out of and the UN is their army, and the UN is just as bad as CPS and DH. I mean, there's people in there that are, there's some good, in every group, there's going to be some people that are, most of them I would think are just duped fools who are making a paycheck. And then there are some good people, too, trying to change the system, but...
Well, they'll be outed.
Yeah.
When they're found out.
And that's the
I'd like to see the spirits of these people. I wish we could. Instead of just, looking at them, I wish we could actually see them. What's really there that we can't see.
Well, they got no soul. They've sold their souls. Demons, that's what they are.
I just hope more wake up. I pray and hope more wake up.
I think once a snowball happens, once you shine a light on something, You can't put it back in the dark. The cat is out of the bag. And we've been watching this.
That's how I feel.
Yeah. So it's only been a year that you've really kind of known what's going on. How long has it been?
A year.
Yeah.
Right.
Because when something happens.
Wow. So you went to Nova Scotia because they can't get you there. Because I've even been talking about, I wouldn't mind going to a different country, but you don't know who's. I thought of Italy.
Oh, Italy's beautiful. Every country, though, in the European Union, I mean, this is what they're trying to do, right? Their New World Order. It's all part of making, 10 or so different huge, big, super state countries. The European was the first one to test this out. It's like they want to put Mexico, Canada, and the U.S. together. These are their plans. The things aren't going according to their plans because people are waking up. And people are waking up to what the European Union was all about. Oh, it sounds like a great thing. What sounds like a great thing is we get rid of all borders, all government, all this fiat money-based system. Because that is the main cause, the main root that's been used is having something called money that controls everything.
Sure does. In America, too, they're all going on and on about, this deficit and, the health care, we're going to be paying for health care for people that don't have it. And do you really think your taxes are going to go down? Do you know the scams out there?
Huh.
At least the health care, if I'm paying, a little extra for somebody that doesn't have it, at least I know I'm doing something that's decent. But they're stealing children for profit.
Well, what do you think is going to happen?
That's where the money's going.
What do you think is going to happen with the healthcare system? If it's just the same idea of a system. It was written by the insurance companies.
Oh, they tell us the insurance companies don't like this at all.
Oh,
to make you think, if the insurance companies don't like it, it must be good.
Yeah, I'm sure the pharmaceutical companies just love it. Look at what you're paying for pharmaceuticals out there.
Oh, my God, it's ridiculous.
They're bankrupt. I read somewhere, too, the statistics of how many people go bankrupt because of the high healthcare costs there.
Right.
But it's all been done by design. This is the thing that people have to... Instead of... we look and we say, we're going to... one issue here, one issue there. We have to look at it as this... And it all has been going on. Countries have gone from... complete total economic despair to then they'll give them a little bit of hope there, but it's all manipulated. The stock market, the banking, every part of it has been manipulated, and we're just slaves to the system that they can manipulate in any whatever it is that's going to benefit them. They'll manipulate it to, like, maybe if people are starting to wake up, maybe what we'll see is, we'll start giving them a little bit, we better lay off.
More fluoride in the water, huh?
Yeah, or more fluoride in the water, or more GMO in the food.
Yeah, right. I like what Anonymous wrote. Well, let's put oil of Olay in the water. It's good for your skin. There's science that proves it does something to your pineal gland, is it?
The pineal gland. That's they have to, because the pineal gland is what controls your awakening too. It controls your moods, right? So everything that they're doing is like making you not, first of all, if you're not getting proper rest or whatever, you know how you feel. You're not able then to cope. It's about coping. Right. If we're not happy, if we're always worried and stress is one of the biggest factors of illness.
Right.
Yeah. So it's so all these issues. You can see exactly what they're doing, and they've been doing it for. If we take a look at the Bible and go back to Joseph, and when the wheat and how they were hoarding all the wheat, and you'll see this. You'll see a story there. You'll see that this has been going on and on and on. It's the same group of elitists, whatever I call them, Satanists. I don't. Dajing, there's all kinds of different names that they've been called that, with different cultures and that know about this evil that's in our world that we've got to get, band together and go, you're out of here.
Right. Think about that. I think when I do, look along on the internet, and I have seen the prison thing, and now with your story, oh my God. I'm going to get into that some more too. Anyway, and you think, how come there's thousands and thousands and thousands of people that are complaining and telling exactly what's going on, and how is it just getting ignored? How can that be?
That's the part that baffles me.
It really does. It's like it's flat out right in your face. It's wrong. And it's just brushed under the rug. I don't understand it.
Well, it's brainwashing, eh? Part of it is the brainwashing that's been gone on. We have really been so, especially with television and the lies that we've been told. Yeah. There's so much propaganda that's gone on.
For sure. We can only imagine what's on there subliminal, too.
Exactly, yeah. There's this all
oh, my God.
Yeah. Yeah, we only know how much of it is that we don't know. How about like these MK Ultra? Have you heard of that too? Where they, people are so brainwashed that they go on and they carry out the assassinations. Or it sounds crazy, but there's so much proof out there.
Yeah, you really can play with somebody's mind enough.
And the school systems have been infected.
Excuse me?
The school system has been infected big time.
Oh, so bad. So bad. I know DCF is in there, too. Oh, the school system. Oh, my God, the brainwashing is scary. What's starting to get bigger around here anyway is only because of the school shootings. They're doing more of the homeschooling here.
Yeah. I would recommend anybody take their kids out of do homeschooling and stay away from those vaccines.
Oh, I know it. Oh, it's a law. You have to give the kids those vaccines.
It's not a law. That's another lie. It's not a law.
Really? Because they won't let the kids in. They won't let them in here.
Yeah, but you know what? You have there's papers that you can show, and that this is another tactic that they use. There's not even laws on the book, but people think because you have the propaganda that they hear, there is no law.
Well, people got to start coming out of their house and being seen.
Well, there was that Million-Man March. Yeah, the march that happened that we didn't hear very much about, unfortunately. It
was huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. But yeah, they don't want to cover that.
No, didn't hear anything about it at all.
They're afraid it might wake other people up.
Yeah. So I think these, and I was watching too. Somebody put together. It was really neat. It was like a map with all the protests that have happened over the last 50 years, and you see, and you can see it growing progressively and progressively. Right now, it's like the whole world is just shone up with protests over here, there.
Oh, great.
So I think it's a matter of we have to put in effort now and start talking and start being honest. This is another thing. You're embarrassed to tell your story.
Oh, I know, because part of me, when I talk about the DCF, and since now they didn't know what else to do, so they added in molesting. Well, that might keep you quiet there because that's really disgusting, so disgusting. And to even say it and have people think maybe they did.
Yes, yes, exactly.
That was added in there to keep it quiet, but it never happened, and she never said it. And we know that. Unless they've driven her crazy. And, she had a very good mind. She was, beyond her years, intelligence. And there's no way she said that. And, the DCF trauma counselor, she's the usual one that they use. So, and then placing her with it's all set up for their win. It's all set up. And he's gotten a couple of months ago paperwork saying, we're planning on adopting out the kids, And I called them and I said, those kids are not up for adoption. I'm their grandmother. I'm their flesh and blood. Before anything like that is considered, they're supposed to be with family. Oh, we're not really going to do that. We just said that. We just write that. I said, nobody just writes something that has no intention on doing it. So,
Yeah, well, they're going to do whatever makes them the most money, right?
Yeah, they do get. There's certain amounts of money they get. Yeah, actually, the blue-eyed, blonde hairs, they get the most for them. They like Italian. I didn't know that, but I've been reading up, and that's what we are. Why I don't know, but a lot of the people, all those interviews on YouTube, they're talking about it, that they get certain amounts, and people place orders.
Yeah, and the adoptive family could be thinking, oh, we're just out there to adopt a child that's gone through some horrific experience, right? They may not know,
Right.
And they have to pay for this.
Yes, that's right. Oh, there was also, I was reading some of the people that do that have adopted some kids. Well, they pop up. Well, I'm sure they're pretty angry because I'm sure as they grow older, they learn. And besides that, there's the kids that maybe they had, the drugs in their system, prenatal or whatever, for whatever reason.
It could be a marijuana. It could be a joint. Marijuana that's one of the other things. This war on drugs. So you smoke one joint which is medicinal to begin with. Mm-hmm. That does absolutely no harm, and then they use that as an excuse.
Right, but alcohol's okay. Alcohol's okay. You gotta be kidding me. That's not even common sense. Who would you rather? I don't smoke pot, but it's only because it makes me nervous. But my God, even somebody that doesn't smoke pot can see this. Okay, somebody drinking alcohol and somebody smoking pot. Who would you rather be around?
Yeah, and the other thing is
smoking pot is quiet and friendly. The alcohol brings out the rowdiness. Doesn't make sense, but I don't know. I don't even know what to say.
It only makes sense when you see it's a whole big manipulation.
Right.
To make us all also question everybody, what everybody does, and everyone's the criminal. How many?
Oh yeah.
How many people are in jail for smoking a joint, or
God, they're making a killing off of that. Oh, here in Florida, this is a police state. I grew up in New Jersey and came back to Florida. Oh my God, what a difference. Here, if someone gets pulled over, it could be a 80-year-old man. If he gets pulled over, they've got 3 and 4 cop cars standing there pulling this guy over to give him a ticket. I've never seen so many police in my life, ever. You can go down the street. I don't understand how they get that through to the government that they need so many more police here. But I guess it's because they'll arrest people. I mean, you can get for littering. You can get put in jail here
for littering.
And yeah, so I guess they could make it look bad enough that that'll justify why they need so many police. And in Florida, they want to build more prisons and they want to privatize it. And, man, that's big business in this state.
Don't people see that in Florida? I remember the last time being there, I couldn't believe what was going on, how much of a police state it was. I was staying at my brother-in-law's place, and at night there would be these helicopters coming over, like zooming in on the little area that they lived in. Yes. Like doing and flashing the lights. It was like crazy. And I know the son had gotten caught with marijuana, and the rigmarole and how this affected his whole life. You can't.
Oh yeah, the ruin. They'll slap a felony on some kid's head so fast, and just ruin their life. That same underage kid or just 18 or whatever young person, if they had been in any other state, they wouldn't have that felony on. I don't know about any other state, but I can say New Jersey, I can tell you, they're not so fast to just slap a felony on you and ruin your life. Here, they have no problem whatsoever. And we don't have the state tax here, so the police make up for that by all the fines.
Yeah, and they buy them all these toys, too, with taxpayers' money to enslave us all.
Oh, yeah.
Like how people aren't catching on, that's what it's so blatantly in your face now.
It is. It's almost impossible to not see it. it seems like the people that don't see it, they just so desperately don't want to that it's kind of like, you know, how they say people have that hearing only, they hear only what they want to hear.
Yes.
You've got to have some kind of blinders to, and just watch nothing but cartoons on TV. I mean, I don't see how they can.
But we don't need everybody to wake up either. I've read, I don't know how many, you know, like if a certain percentage of the population is awake, then this is over. Because don't forget, there's not many of them that are really controlling this.
Right. There's not.
No. So
I can just imagine them just getting together at some secret spot and just deciding the whole world's, you know, year by year. I can just, it's too easy to imagine. I know it's got to be real. It's got to be.
Yeah, we have to.
Let's go get them, you know. The Twin Towers. I saw it on TV. It didn't even look real. Come on, they really didn't know they were even in the sky.
Yeah. Oh, and passports just mysteriously don't burn up, but meanwhile the black box can't be found.
I know it.
And Building 7 just mysteriously just disintegrates because, you know, and Silverstein collects double indemnity on the building and makes himself how much money? Unbelievable.
It is.
And I mean,
it's so obvious.
There's enough programs there out on the internet that how many? I mean, I couldn't count how many are out there that prove it. You know, undoubtedly. Yeah.
Yet, just goes on anyway. It just happens anyway. Once in a while, they'll act like they're going to clean something up. You know, in America here, they're talking about you know, how they're going to have things out in the open more, so people will know what's going on. And they put just a couple of things, and then once in a while, they'll go and get some organization, Wall Street or wherever, you know. They'll do that to make it look good. But what they're really doing is just going on full force, stronger and stronger.
So
I can't believe what happened to you. I can't. My head's spinning.
Well, what happened to me is nothing, nothing compared to what has happened to your family. And this issue, your issue, is it's. I think it's a more urgent issue when children are involved like this. They are not able to speak for themselves. They don't know what's going on.
That's why they grab them.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Oh, now we got all these rights to protect animals. We don't have enough, but you know, animals can't hire a lawyer and sue you or, you know, tell people what happened. And it's pretty much the same idea with kids. They're pretty much a captive audience, and they can do what they want. And they can mess with kids' brains easier. I mean, it's really an easy steal when you think about it.
Very. Who speaks for them?
Especially with their marketing. It's for the wizard to protect children. Oh, that makes them sound like, oh, they're helping the kids.
Yeah, and the other group, the other group too, it's very important also, are the elderly and the infirm, the people. That's what I saw.
Yeah.
And that's what I was complaining about. Because the people that are in these institutions very often have problems and they can't speak up. And Alzheimer's victims.
Yes. Yes. You know what they do here a lot too? Whenever there's a problem in government, the first people they go after to tell you that they're going to hurt is the disabled and the elderly, to get you to agree and to vote, you know, for something or go along with whatever more money they want or whatever their scheme is. They go right after so that you feel like, oh, they're going to hurt the disabled and the elderly. That's their persuasion. They always go right for them.
Children, elderly, it's like it's the
so
biggest.
Obvious.
And that to me, when you go after something that cannot fight, is not able to fight back, there can't be anything lower than that.
There's not. That's why I'm saying we're dealing with the devil. Oh, it's not like a, you know, but
it's, you know what? Let's face it. That's what we're. Yeah. Them's the facts.
It really is a fact. It's a fact. It's as evil as you get.
It
take
is.
on the helpless.
Yeah, so what we're going to do here is we're going to try to get this word out. We're going to try to maybe set up some kind of petitions. You have some groups there going. We'll get this aired, and after airing it, what we do is we put this on a podcast so people can listen to it over. We'll add all the other information. You mentioned there's a wealth of information.
A lot of paper trail.
Yeah, so we'll put that all together, and we'll start a ball rolling here.
Sounds great.
We'll get some.
I was saying, if we could all, kind of get together with this, because there's strength in numbers. Because we know their game plan is divide and conquer.
Yeah. As soon as we're we're going to be a force to be reckoned with.
Yes, good.
Yeah, the main thing is we need to be strong with, and not give up. I think that's another thing that they do is that they slam so much on us that they tire us out. So it's so very important too that we keep up with our health and stay as strong as we possibly can.
State-sanctioned kidnapping is when a state agency unlawfully removes a child or senior from a family's care by illegally editing court hearing tapes or manipulating the court files.
Victims of state-sanctioned child abductions.
It's difficult to believe how easily and quickly children are removed from their parents without any show of wrongdoing.
This amounts to nothing more than a state-sanctioned kidnapping.
Dockets are doctored.
The transcripts had been altered.
Fabricated medical evidence. Tapes edited.
The altering of trial audio tapes.
The audio tapes were criminally edited.
Transcript tapes were edited.
Judges fixing transcripts.
Victims of false allegations of abuse.
Evidence of police wrongdoing, of edited tapes, of manufactured evidence.
The evidence is being manufactured.
Father proves courts edit tapes to remove the evidence that goes against the judge's ruling.
Okay. They know what they're doing. And for them to pretend that they don't know that the records are being altered, these are not stupid people.
This is not just overzealous officials claiming to err on the side of caution for children's welfare. This is a systematic confiscation of children from their parents.
The desire to protect children, of course, is a noble desire. However, what this has turned into is an industry.
We'll tell your mama, we'll tell your pa, we're gonna send you back to Harvard Law.
The stories you've seen here may seem fantastic. In fact, they are very common and almost routine.
There's no penalty for government lawyers who incite their witnesses to commit perjury.
There's absolute immunity for prosecutors that could make conduct illegal and prosecute with the full force of government to create crimes.
A new set of crimes. It creates civil orders without rights, without your rights because you weren't there.
We often have what's called an ex parte hearing. That means one where only one side goes in and the other side doesn't get any notice, has no idea that there's a hearing going on, and doesn't even show up because they don't know it's happening.
And the incestuous nature sort of how the courts and the custody evaluators and the party that's being favored by those professionals in the court system kind of collaborate together.
Children, but in some cases the elderly, are effectively confiscated by court officials. Their estates are plundered.
I was put on trial by federal court.
I was sentenced to 6 months in jail.
And I faced a relentless series of charges.
Just 2 words: federal money.
So the incentive is not to keep the child in the home.
What you have now in this country is a situation where the judiciary and the bar are working together to run a criminal racketeering enterprise that is extorting money from people under color of office.
The courts are a criminal enterprise to get money, federal dollars, from the federal government.
The entire justice system has basically collapsed.
Is this a racketeering scheme? It certainly is. It's racketeering, it's extortion, there's a whole bunch of crimes that are going on. And you have judges that are accountable to no one.
We're standing in front of the Billerica House of Correction where I was wrongly incarcerated for most of the 5.5 months until my mother was able to remortgage the house to come up with the $50,000 cash bail that was required.
if you don't pay us this $150 per hour for the next 5 years, we're going to take the kid away from you. That's a little bit more of an extortionistic demand, because that results in money going directly into the pockets of the private individuals and agencies who are benefiting from this public process and using their authority as governmental agents to extort money out of a parent.
I not only discovered that the courts edited hearing tapes, but I discovered the motivation behind their doing these criminal acts, and that is massive federal funding.
The entire judicial system is corrupt.
They lost for gold. Your vote is sold. Take back the soul of our nation.
What they do is they offer the state a bribe or a federal incentive to be involved and conduct themselves in such a manner.
Well, does it create statistics? Is it meant? I don't know that it's meant to create statistics, but it creates cases. And if cases create grants, then so be it.
For every child who is removed from the family home, there are 25 service providers who derive their livelihood from that child's removal. They have a vested interest in maintaining their income. They have a vested interest in maintaining their practice.
Child abuse by public officials.
The worst abuse I've experienced is at the hands of the government, and the worst abuse my child has experienced is at the hands of the government. That's the only abuse that's going on here.
Just to get the word out to the public, I filed a lawsuit against the State Bar for racketeering.
I reported case fixing, criminal activity in a court, and I have done 231 days in jail for basically reporting crimes.
And the consequence was that in secret tribunals, I lost my law license. They took it away, and they would not give me a public trial of the matter.
I had my license to practice law suspended without a hearing.
All total, I was arrested 26 times and prosecuted. Literally thrown in jail and prosecuted.
I'm attorney Eugene Rona, a Pennsylvania attorney who is in the process of being disbarred by the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania because I accuse the courts of criminal misconduct for the alteration of court proceeding.
These courts operate in secrecy. They are accountable to virtually no one. They usually leave no record at all of their proceedings.
I had to be silenced through serious discrediting. In other words, discredit me, this former Girl Scout in every sense of the word, by making me a criminal.
They wanted to do anything to see that I didn't win cases.
Lawyers who merely reported that their clients' tapes were illegally edited, boom, they're gone. Yeah. They're terrorized, they're beaten, they're thrown in jail. If I've been beaten, I've been thrown in jail unlawfully. I've been fined $20,000 unlawfully. And I've witnessed other political activists like myself who want to expose this being thrown in jail unlawfully.
And then finally, doing everything you could to psychologically destroy me so that I couldn't assist other people and extract what funds I have so that I couldn't defend myself.
June Maxim, the other speakers, and I are being victimized by domestic terrorists. Domestic enemies of the Constitution who use terror tactics to destroy and suppress all who oppose them.
Tear up the news.
Talk to your neighbors, because the media, they're not going to report on it.
Kevin Thompson, whose book on judicial corruption in Massachusetts has been banned.
And this federal funding is having a terribly corruptive effect on journalists, on academics, on prosecutors, on court officials of all kinds.
I found out that every time I exposed public corruption or white-collar crime, the people who I exposed faced no charges, and I faced a relentless series of charges.
The press is biased, and your story does not come out. The true story does not come out.
Our boys are fighting to bring freedom and justice in foreign lands, while here at home it is being stripped from us.
Right.
It's a trick played on all of us.
Why would courts and judges do this sort of a thing? The answer to that question is just two words: federal money.
And they just simply created this statute, created all these committees, created these jobs, created these industries, and no one's going to stop them because there's no one to stop them.
So there is an industry completely built up around the redistribution of our children. Who gets the checks for the services that are offered? It's not the parents, and it's not the child. It's the service providers.
I'm here in Washington, D.C. today to ask the federal government why federal funds are available to the legal industry to prey on society's weakest members: our elderly, our handicapped, our mentally challenged, and our children.
This court system is riddled with abuses, with corruption, with graft. Children are effectively walking bundles of cash. Whoever controls the children can get money from the federal government.
The legislature, the judiciary, the legal system lusts after these federal funds.
The federal government is the locomotive driving this whole thing. They're taking otherwise normal courts and they're adding fuel in the form of federal money to subsidize certain actions that they want to see happen.
They ended up creating an industry. An industry. People getting arrested without a hearing and things of that nature, and all having to do with the change in the law.
Judges gave themselves immunity for their decisions, as long as those decisions were not malicious or corrupt. A few years later, the court took the malicious and corrupt away.
Judges have given themselves immunity. Are you aware of that?
I read that about...
absolute immunity. Yeah. They've given lawyers qualified immunity. And in my case, Margaret Marshall used my case to rewrite the anti-SLAPP law to give social workers who commit perjury in court immunity. And the immunity, which are totally un-American, we're all supposed to be equal before the law, but they've made themselves into an aristocracy that operates above the law.
The judges had created immunity. They had created such a thing called sovereign immunity, and I'd look at the Constitution and I'd say, how can you come up with this thing called sovereign immunity where the government is not accountable to the people? How can that happen? There's not a word of it in the Constitution. In fact, the whole idea of the Constitution is the government should be accountable to the people.
How does judicial immunity jive with the concept, the constitutional concept, that all men are equal before the law?
And if you want to continue to have a relationship with your child, you do as we say, or we'll take your child away.
The harm that they do to the children of our nation, that's incredible. You're talking tens of thousands of children being harmed by these judges' actions just so they can collect money from Washington.
When they interfere with the family unit, undermine parental authority, and substitute state decisions for parent decisions, that is going to be the beginning of the destruction of our society.
Justice! When do we want it? Now! When do we want it? Justice! When do we want it? Now!
Is it a big leap to consider that these people who are doing unconstitutional and illegal acts to empower themselves and industries, the legal industries that they belong to, is it a big stretch to really think that they would go so far as to edit tapes?
I guess not.
How can you have a government and all of its little governors being immune at the same time have a right to petition government for redress?
We'll be handing out some flyers trying to raise some awareness and bring some exposure to the sedition and treason that takes place daily in our courtrooms.
Isn't there anybody with a conscience in our judicial system or our government?
Well, the more I asked, the more I saw that it was somehow buried in the field of law and the people that govern, their inability to control the government.
Thomas Jefferson warned us all that the biggest danger to America isn't from abroad, it's from within, and it's from the judiciary. He, a lawyer, points out that the judiciary is the greatest threat to our democracy. And he's turned out to be more than correct.
More than, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm planning to do next is I've written and tried every avenue I could and talked to every government agency you can imagine. Each time I just hit a brick wall and I get the form letter or they pass it on to someone else. So I think the only thing left to do is people have to band together, not just separate states, separate countries. We need to band together and start picketing and demanding that our government and these corrupt agencies stop torturing and making money off the backs of citizens. I think the best thing we can do is get loud, name names, and get out in public where we can be seen and educate others where people are going through the exact same thing. We need to all get together and revolution. It's the only thing left.
Nancy, I think you hit the nail on the head. I'm taking it all in, and it is so, there is so much, and it is overwhelming. But together, guess what? The more people we are, the stronger we are. And then, so what we'll do from here is we're going to post this far and wide, have people listen to it. Please contact us. We'll send the information out, and we'll plan another interview too, and to let everybody know what the progress is.
Yeah, I really do appreciate that you did let me talk, and I'm so sorry about what happened to you. It's hard to believe.
I'm sorry what's happening to humanity.
I do believe it. Excuse me?
Said I'm sorry what is happening to humanity.
I am too.
But guess what? Us grandmothers,
wrap it up.
Yeah, the grandmothers, we're getting together.
Yeah.
And we're going to be a force to be reckoned with, right, Nancy?
For sure. I'm not going to tire out at all. I'm just going to keep going as long as they can.
Okay.
I'll find them kids. They can adopt them, do whatever they want to try to do illegally, but I'll find them.
Yeah. We're winning this one.
you. Far more shocking than anything I ever knew. Right on cue. Can't stop, addicted to the shindig. Chopped up, he says I'm gonna win big. Choose not a life of imitation. Distant us into the reservation. Defunct the pistol that you pay for. Just pump the feeling that you stay for. In time I want to be a best friend. Eastside love is living on the west end. Knocked out before you better come to. Don't die, you know the truth is some do. Go write your message on the pavement. Burn so bright, I wonder what the wave meant. Kickstart the golden generate hub. Sweet talk but don't intimidate hub. Can't stop the gods from engineering. Feel no need for any interfering. Your image in the dictionary. This life is more than ordinary. Can I get two, maybe even three of these? Coming from a space to teach you of the Pleiades. Can't stop the spirits when they need you. This life is more than just a read through.
You're listening to Awake Radio. Straight talk for the awake and aware.